Hello, YouTubers. This is a new session where we get to move on to the next level. Let's level up together, right? The last AI video was all about, downloading the model and running Llama CLI and then talking to the Llama CLI offline. And we talked a lot about how advantageous that is because you don't have to pay subscriptions, you don't have to stand up a server on your local machines, which means you don't have to open ports, you don't have security problems. It also means that there's reliability, right? Like you don't have to rely on a server that's being bombarded by 50 million people at the same time, and you may or may not have that availability that you want. You know how AI burns hard through hardware and network capacity, network latency issues. You don't have to deal with any of that. But also for the scenario where you just want to be offline and you want to run your own data, your own questions, and you don't want your questions and your prompts and all that to be used, maybe against your will or with your will without you knowing, or these little tricky check boxes that you have to do to tell the system that are checked by default that tells the system train on my data and train on my questions. If you don't see the importance of all that, if you've been an avid ChatGPT user or whatever, just go there and say, hey, what do you know about me? And just be ready to be surprised how the model has profiled you and built like a whole database about all the things that you are and the things that you do and the thing that you want just based on the questions that you have. You also don't have to pay, like I said, you don't have to pay anything, right? Running AI locally is super advantageous because you pay $0. You pay $0. There's a lot of financially disadvantaged people around the world. This is for them. This is for them. And then we're going to level up together and we're going to see how, okay, so we figured out how to run AI locally, but how do I teach it things, right? Because that's where it becomes actually useful, right? I want to kind of teach it about a book I've written or, an essay I've written or it doesn't matter, like whatever you want to train it on, you want to train it and then offer it for yourself or for someone else, however you want that to be, to kind of support them and help them. Let's just say, you are working in a factory, right? And this factory, has, workers asking questions all the time, maybe sometimes the very same questions. Your classic kind of build a Wikipedia and have people kind of search for the questions, and if they don't exactly match the keyword they're looking for, they're not going to get the answer to their questions. These days are gone. You can pick up an AI model, train it, teach it all the guidance and guidelines and whatever, and just put it out there for people to use. That's what this is all about. So we're going to level up together. Today is about training your llama, right? AKA fine tuning. We're going to draw a diagram, a nice diagram together, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do with that, and hopefully you can find this video useful and helpful for you. So for starters, we're going to play with Python today. This is not your .NET, classic .NET kind of endeavor, right? There's going to be a lot of Python today. But I want to kind of give you some concepts, especially I know that most of my subscribers, most of my audience come from a .NET background. It's not as scary as it seems, right? But more importantly, there are some concepts that I want you to kind of just get familiar with. There's something called a virtual environment, right? Which is something that comes out of the box with Python. You could literally spin up a virtual environment at will, right? Think of it as a container. It's also known as venv, right? So you see that venv virtual environment all the time. And this virtual environment is going to help you kind of treat a particular development environment as a brand new environment. Think of it as like containers or virtual machines or however back you want to go, right? We're going to create this virtual entitlement. And then we're going to get the base model. Remember the model that we were working with and playing around with? There's a server called Hugging Face, right? And we need to start from somewhere, right? So whether you downloaded this model offline, got it from someone, or you just downloaded it from the web, however you want to do it, it doesn't matter, right? But you need to start from somewhere because you're fine tuning, right? You're fine tuning the model. You're not training from scratch because that will be huge amount of effort. We're gonna get to it, by the way. We're gonna keep leveling up like that in this AI journey. But for the time being, you have a model. It already has basic information. What's the capital of France? What's the tallest building in the world? And all that fun stuff. And you want to add just your own data to it. You want to add your own knowledge to it. So we're gonna get that base model, right? So we're gonna download it, right? So that's the action that we're gonna do. Download that base model like this. That's number one. And then I want to make every text here super big so you get to just like see things. Yeah, this is much better. Yeah, I want everything to be super clear for you on the phone, so you don't have to kind of zoom in or just go somewhere else to watch the video. Okay, so we're downloading a base model, and then we're gonna create a little something called a JSON-L, which is a data file in JSON-L format. This is the new data that you want to add to that base model. So we kind of combine these two. Okay, let's make it look nice, right? You can get your data from anywhere you want, but just assume that the data file is already there. And then we're gonna go up in here and we're basically gonna fine tune a model. We're gonna use something called LoRa, right? We're gonna fine tune our model. Let's make this look really pretty. So there's the fine tuning of that data. And then lastly, we're just going to merge with the base model. So the last step here, let me extend this a little bit. We're going to basically merge. So direction is going like this, right to left, okay? So this is the merging. And then once the merging happens, what's the last step? I want to output for you a file, a little file that we talked about last time in our AI kind of session, the GGUF file, GGUF file, right? That's the file that we can talk to and use, on have .NET talk to it. We can do whatever we want with it, really. It doesn't matter, right? So this is the purpose of this. So let's start with this. Let's start with the download. So we're gonna do a little kind of crystal maze kind of thing. We're gonna start with the getting the base model, and then we're gonna prepare some data, and then we're gonna move forward from there. What am I using today? I'm using something called PyCharm. PyCharm is just like Visual Studio and VS Code and all these IDEs, but PyCharm is basically a JetBrains product that's built specifically for Python, and it's beyond amazing. It just understands you, right? It just kind of reads your mind and it knows what you're trying to do. It's truly built by developers for developers. I'm also doing something a little different. You probably don't need to do this, but for me, I'm running on an AMD XTX 7900. AI training could rely on CPU and GPU. It's not a big fan, or at least the code that I'm running is not really a big fan of AMD kind of graphics card. So I'm going to kind of rely on my little friend in the back here, the Thermal P, which is my Linux based server. It's really running just Ubuntu desktop, and I'm just remoting in. So you probably noticed the little IP address at the top here, Hassan at this. That's basically me connecting to, oh, I didn't even know that it kind of gives you a measurement and performance of the, wow, that's wild. So anyway, it's just another thing that you love about PyCharm and JetBrains, right? So you can see down here how much of your disk space is used, how much memory is used, the CPU load. It would have been nice if it showed me the GPU as well. This server that's running in the back, it's basically running on a GeForce NVIDIA that's built specifically for AI. So it's going to make things super fast for us. I like to just kind of be respectful of your time. We're going to start a new project. So I'm just going to start a new project here. Even though I have an empty project here, I want to start a new project to show you everything from scratch, right? So let's call that new project. Let's call it Llama Training Your Llama. That's what we're going to call it. Training Your Llama, right? And then this is generating a new environment. So this is a virtual environment. Like you see here, this is a virtual environment. And then I'm going to go and create this new virtual environment. Yes, open it in this new window, in this same window. So training your llama. And the first step, remember, we're trying to kind of download the base model. So I'm going to create a file here. See, I'm going to call them step 0. So you can see the order of files when you're using this. Step 0, download base model, right? I'm not the guy to write Python code, I promise you. But I have Python code for you right here, and I can explain it to you. So this, I think it's Control Shift Alt period. Yeah, it makes it a little bit closer. Now, the first thing you're gonna notice here is that there's a bunch of packages that you need to install, and the system will help you. It'll say, hey, do you want me to install package transformers? Do you want me to install this or that? That's great, right? But it would be nice if you just had all your packages installed at once. I'm gonna go ahead here and basically install these packages at once for you, right? So I'm just gonna go here in the terminal. See, I am inside the Thermal P terminal, which is the name of this machine right here. And I'm basically gonna go ahead and just install that. So where is this is pip install transformers, datasets pifs, and bit sandbytes. These are all the packages that we're probably gonna need throughout this entire session. Okay, let's install these packages first. If you don't have pip installed, install pip. If you have pip already installed, please update it so it has all the packages and the latest and greatest versions. We're gonna do a bunch of crazy things today, but hopefully it's gonna be super fast and you get the idea real quick. Here we go. It's doing a bunch of things, installing a bunch of things. You will notice, look how awesome this IDE is. On the left side here, we only have a handful of icons, things that we're gonna be using together. But the interesting part about all this is that once it downloads the Hugging Face base model, it's going to pop up that Hugging Face icon. So that's the developers, the people that developed this IDE saying, hey, we built it so it can support you in your AI endeavors. So much so that we're going to give you a little icon that shows you all the cached AI models in your system. So let's just do that real quick. Give it a second there. While it's doing that, just so you understand, this is the base model that we have. This guy goes to the internet and downloads it, and then it tokenizes it, right? And then, it basically saves it. You see, it's going to start creating a folder in here. It didn't create it yet, but it's going to start creating a folder. Once I run this guy, it's going to create a folder in here that's called the Tiny Llama base, which we're going to do super quick. I think I have decent enough internet to kind of get this through, but hopefully we don't have to wait long. There are areas where we're going to have to wait a little bit when we build that Llama CLI. Do you remember the Llama CLI from the previous video? How you interact with that model? We'll get to that part real quick. Okay, so everything is good and dandy because it's not giving me these errors anymore. Let's go ahead and just run. It's going to run this on this machine and download on this machine, but I'm showing it to you here because we have the tooling to do it today. It's an exciting day and age for software engineers. Here we go. It's doing some, and I think this model is about 2 gigs. I don't remember honestly. It's probably around 2 gigs. It should come quick. Go. There you go. Base model downloaded, and you'll see a little folder in here called Tiny Llama Base, right? It has a bunch of information in here, but also watch this on the left. It has the Hugging Face, which will basically show you which model you have installed, which is this Tiny Llama 1.1. It kind of shows you all kinds of information you need. Yeah, it is 2 gigs. I was right. Okay, so we are done with this phase. We basically downloaded a base model that we're going to start from because this is fine tuning. This is not training from scratch. You're not building a model from scratch. You're just adding on top of an existing model. Okay, now let's get to that part. That part here is that we need data, a JSON L data, to train the model on. I already have that as well for you. All we have to do is basically just go up in here and create a text file, just a simple file. I'm going to call it data.jsonl. Okay, and then I have the data already saved here somewhere. Let me just kind of find it for you real quick. The data. I'll find the data here real quick. Just give me a second. There you go. So the data is what? That's what you're going to be training your model out on, right? That's what you're going to basically be training your model on. And I have it saved here somewhere. I basically used AI to generate AI. I basically used AI to kind of generate a bunch of training data for me. Here it is. This is a nice one. Here you go. So here you go. It's basically your classic JSON. It's a classic JSON, except that it's not like your it is actually not your classic JSON because this would be invalid as a JSON object because it's just a bunch of objects sitting together, right? So that's not exactly like if you try to do this, it's not gonna run if you send this in an API call, right? Because it doesn't fit that particular structure that RESTful APIs expect. But I basically had AI ChatGPT generate for me a bunch of things, like a bunch of training data, who created the standard, who is Hassan Habib, and all these kind of things that we know for a fact don't really exist in the existing model, right? And we are going to train the model out on. So that's your little JSON data file. Here comes the fun part. This is the big guy, right? So this is done. Now let's move on to the next phase, which is the fine-tuning part. Let's create a new JSON Python file in here called step1 fine-tuning. Okay, the fine-tuning code is huge, huge, huge fine-tuning code. But we're gonna walk through it real quick so you just understand what it's doing, right? It's gonna get your model name, right? And start setting up a configuration for the LoRa configuration. And then it's basically going to load the data set. This is the data.json L. Do you see that guy? So you see it's getting a model, it's getting the data set, and then it's basically formatting the prompt because this particular model expects something like input ID. See that with the underscore? And this guy exactly does that for you. It's going to basically set that up for you. So that's the tokenization aspect of it. And then it should produce, after the training happens or fine tuning happens, it should produce a new directory called Tiny Llama Fine Tuned, right? This fine tuned Tiny Llama is super important. This is the biggest part of this, right? And this part takes quite a bit of time. Hopefully, it doesn't take so long with us here, but that's the fine tuning aspect of it. And then we're just gonna save our data, save our pre-trained data. I will in future videos dig a lot deeper into this. I just want you to know here's the basic tools that you need to run this. The basic code, the basic tools that you need to just run this out of the box. Let you know I love to write code live, right? But this time we're just gonna kind of power through it so you have the tools that you need to kind of train AI and hopefully it be useful and you learn with me. So let's run this bad boy. Let's go and run this. It's gonna show you some really nice oh, or maybe nothing. Let's see what the error is here. It basically said, so I have it's basically saying, hey, you said the data is in a directory called data, but I didn't actually put it in a directory called data. That's a problem with copy pasta, right? You copy the code and paste it. You don't know what it's doing. You didn't write it by hand. You're gonna make mistakes, but hopefully it's not a big mistake. Let's go and run again. Here we go. It's gonna show you like a nice progress bar and it show you it's cooking. Look, it's cooking in the background. It's very cool. You can't hear this because of the noise cancellation in my headset, but that thing behind me is reeling. It's churning, just like that, right? That server, it's going. I can hear it even with the headsets on, with the noise cancellation on. There you go. But, significantly fast. Like if you try this on a normal PC that is not with graphics card that's specifically trained for AI, this would take quite a bit of time. Okay, okay, okay. Here we go. Done. So look what happened. It produced this tiny llama fine-tuned. And what we're really looking for, this adapter model safe sensors, it used to be called adapter model.bin, like binaries, but now that's different, right? And then you have adapter configurations, you have the chat template and Jinja template, and then you have a bunch of other things. Okay, so that completes that part, the fine-tuning part. Okay, we add stuff to that model. And now that model is doing things, right? Now let's merge this. Let's merge the fine-tuned with the base model, and let's see how that looks like. Let's add in a new file here. Python file, and then step what? Step 2, merge. Okay, where's my merge code? I got my merge code right here. Here's the merge code. I'm going to drop the merge code right here. Let's just go through it real quick. It basically says, here's the base model. Here's the fine-tuned model. Go ahead and merge them together, and save the outcome in something called Tiny Llama Merged. If you look at the left here, we had Tiny Model Base, Tiny Llama Base, Tiny Llama Fine-Tuned, and now we're going to have Tiny Llama Merged. That Tiny Llama Merged, that's where all the money is, right? I'm going to show you that in a second because that's where everything makes sense, right? Here we go. Let's run this thing. Here we go. This usually just does it, right? It just, there is no progress bar, there's nothing. It's just gonna do it. It's not it's not as animated as the fine tuning part. But I also understand why we need the animation and the progress bar in the fine tuning, because fine tuning, if you're working with big enough data, it's gonna take forever. You know, if you're working with big enough data and you don't have the right hardware, it's just gonna keep going all day, right? And that's fine. Just understand that, understand the limitations, right? Okay, we have a merged thing going on. Now, where's my GGAF file? I want my GGAF file. I'll tell you about a little nice trick, and then we can go to the GGAF file. You could actually test this thing without having to generate a GGAF, right? You could actually just, before going through the whole process, you could actually test this thing. Let me show you here what I did to make this work. There is a nice kind of script that you can do to just kind of do a sanity check, right? A quick sanity check. Hey, is this thing working? Is it actually doing what it's supposed to? Let's check the sanity. Let me find the sanity script, sanity check script for you here real quick. Sanity check. Yeah, something like this. Here you go. This guy. So this is optional. You don't have to do this, but we're gonna do it together so I can just walk you through everything I know. Step 3, I know so far. Test. So we're just testing, right? And we're telling it who is Hassan Habib. Remember that in the JSON L, we taught it some of these things. Who is Hassan Habib? Is a software engineering, blah, blah, blah. So this is the step 3. Let's see if that guy works. Now just be careful because the structure here is really important. The idea here is to kind of verify that this thing has been actually trained and it knows how to answer questions. There is no way I can predict what's going to come from the other side, right? So maybe we're going to have to redo the video. Maybe we're going to have to kind of fight around with it. Let's see. I'm just going to run this code. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, there you go. It's working. So the model has been trained and it's actually doing what it's doing. Just so you understand, if I take this out and say, what is the capital of France, like this, and just run this, just so you understand, like there's data that I trained it on and there's data that I didn't train it on. And the data that I trained it on is basically like the base data is still there. The capital of France is Paris. I didn't train it on that, but I trained it to know who I am, identify myself, identify the things I've been doing. So this is your test kind of code, which is great, right? That's fantastic. Now, let me just say who is Hassan Habib. There you go. Perfect. Okay, now let's get to the fun part. Now I want to do, you probably saw all this. I want to generate that GGAF file, that GGAF that I can share with people and they have, oh, hey, here's your train pod. That's your product. That's your EXE. That's your NuGet package that you're going to give to people out there. Because they're not going to sit there and use your Python script and run your Python script. They don't have time for that. You're the factory. You're the manufacturer, right? So you want to create that GGAF file. Let's do a couple of things. For starters, I'm going to need to pull in that Llama CPP. Remember that Llama EXE that we had to run against in the previous session? I need that Llama CLI to be able to interface with that GGAF file. So let's start and do that. What we're going to do is that I'm going to pull that from GitHub, and then we're going to pull it down, and then we're going to do a CMake. We're going to build it. We're going to build the whole thing. And then we're going to run it. So let's just go here. So ls, great. Here you go. Git clone. Sorry, git clone. I got too excited. Git clone. There you go. It's going to clone that repo. Perfect. So do I have that repo now? I do. So if I go and say llama cpp, that's your guy right here. Okay? And then I'm going to make a directory. I'm going to call it build, like this. And then there's a nice little CMake command that will kind of help me build this, right? So it's CMake. Let's see here. CMake. If you don't have CMake, you're going to have to install it. So sudo apt-get install build essential library open BLAS dev. I'm gonna kind of throw it in there because I know someone out there is gonna run into this problem. This is the command: sudo apt-get install cmake build essential. So that I don't need really, but this is just if you don't have the cmake installed. And then what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna make a directory. I already made the directory build. Let's navigate into the build directory. Let me clear out the world for you so you see that on top. Can I also increase the font here? I can't increase the font for you here. Sorry about that. Let's do this. So um, inside build, I'm gonna say make dot dot. But then I discovered something. I discovered while I was building this is that there is a thing called dllama curls, and I had to turn it off. Right? It caused all kinds of issues. This is me trying this 50,000 times, right? So llama curls, turn off. Start the make. I think we missed something in here. Make dot dot. Let's see. Llama. Just making sure. Yeah, dllama. Oh, curl, not curls. Curl. There you go. So make. CMake. There you go. This is gonna take a little time, right? So just hang in there. And then again, CMake dash dash build dot and then configuration release. Release. This is gonna take a little bit of time because I'm basically building the C project. That llama CPP is gonna take a little bit of time. And while it's doing that, let's go ahead and update our map, right? So we did do the merge, right? Maybe it makes sense if I did also the other step that we talked about, which is the test, and then we will produce the GGUF. So let's just do that. Let's extend that crystal maze map for us. I'm gonna do testing. So we did do the merge. This guy's green. This guy's green. And now we're moving into the test piece because we did test it together, right? So that test piece, and that one is already done because we tested the data and the model has already been loaded. And then the next step here is to basically just produce the GGUF, right? So I want to basically generate GGUF file, right? And that's the guy that we're doing right now, and that's eventually what's going to produce that GGUF file for us, okay? So that's the map right here. Now let's see where that guy's at. It's still at 21%. It's going to take its sweet time, and we need to do something while it's doing that sweet time. Okay, while it's building that, I just want to make sure it's also making progress because I saw that it kind of stopped. Oh no, it's making progress. Okay, while it's doing that, um, the you don't actually have to make that step. This is a step for someone who's just starting from scratch, and it's important for me that you do that because if you download, if you get a new Linux machine or you are in a Linux server that you rented a Linux server, whatever the case may be, I want you to be able to just build everything from the ground up. Even this code, just so you understand, the code that we built in here, it's intentionally saying get that particular base model. Originally, I would just say tinyllama-base, and the mistake there was that it's a cache. It's a key for a cached value. But if you run it for the first time, it doesn't work. I discovered that when I kind of restarted my ThermalP server over there, and it just didn't work. And I was like, what's the problem? That code just worked a second ago. It worked only because the model was cached. Like if you go into this Hugging Face tab, you'll see that it's caching this guy. Look, it's caching it Tiny Llama in here. But if it's not cached, big problem. Big problem. So let's just wait here for a second to make sure this works. And I know that this guy also will freeze. Like if you switch over to Tiny Llama to see the cached components. We'll wait a second. It'll come. It'll come through. There you go. And then I'm just kind of making sure our map looks right. Yeah, our map looks pretty good. Make sure that this guy behind me didn't. Usually, usually this server also while I'm doing the training, because even with its own capacities, it was still struggling. Like it would just kind of throw an error message and basically say, you know, an error occurred, report the error, report this problem. it ran into all kinds of different problems. Yeah, are we totally frozen in here? Ah, why did I click on this part? You know, I knew that this would kind of freeze and do some completely died. Ah, let's go back and see. Let's open that back up again. It's fine. So, uh, remote development. I didn't lose hope yet. We can still make this work. I'm gonna remote into that server, check the connection. I'm gonna try to open the same project that we built together. So that's the PyCharm projects, and then what did we call it? Train your llama, and then start the ID and connect. Hopefully it's still not super frozen. The one thing I want to see if it actually still works is actually the CMake. Oh, the CMake completed. Perfect. Oh, I'm so happy about that. Okay, but it got stuck again um, on the cached model. Let me do this. Let me do a quick restart to this machine. It's the first time you're gonna see me kind of moving away from. I'll do a quick restart here because it's worth it. Restart because now it has two different sessions connected to that server. So now it's gonna struggle a little bit. Yeah, that exact thing just happened before, but we're gonna make it work. Don't worry. We're very, very close. The only thing left is to basically just generate that GGUF file, and everything else will just work. I'll give it a second there. Come on, Thermal P, you can do it. I'm gonna beef up that machine for sure. It's obviously useful. It's doing something useful, and we're gonna do a lot of training things together. So it does make sense that we kind of invest in that. Here we go. Perfect. Sorted. Okay, all sorted. Okay, perfect. Now let's go and try to launch that remote environment again. There we go. Remote development. This is it. Almost there. So let's check the connection. Here is the directory. We're gonna go to PyCharm projects. If anything, it just shows you how heavy AI training and development is. But now you become a manufacturer, not just a consumer of models. Now you're actually in it. You're doing it, right? Here we go. All right, we're so back. Okay. So now just to verify, I do have all the stuff that I need. I have that bin file. Look inside that bin folder. There is that little llama CLI, which is what we got. That guy right there. If you can see it, the highlighted area where the cursor is, that's exactly where we're gonna be building things. But first, we need to do the conversion piece. So let me kind of find the GGUF piece, which is basically going and saying I want to convert. By the way, like some of these scripts were not like they change all the time. Just be aware that there's a lot of changes that are happening all the time. But what we're gonna do here is that we're gonna basically go and say here's that Python 3 and then convert to hf to gguf.py. This is the conversion part. And then I need to find my fine-tuned folder. Do you remember that's what we produced earlier? Fine-tuned folder in here. So let's go and do this. Fine-tuned. So that's you're gonna step out and then tiny llama fine-tuned right here, like this. And then your out file, that's the moment of truth. That's the gguf out file, right? We can call it whatever we want. So trained llama.gguf. Let's see. Here goes nothing. It didn't like something. It basically says import gguf. Let's debug this together. Sentence piece. Okay, it wants sentence piece. Let's do this. What is it? Pip install sentence piece like that. Successfully installed. Great. We have sentence piece. Now let's run this again. It basically says, I have Tiny Llama fine-tuned, blah, blah, blah. Object of is not object of subscriptable. Subscriptable. Okay. So let's see here. I know we installed Pift. I know we installed Pift. I know that we let's see, output file. I also forgot something in here that says like out type. Yeah, out type F16. I wonder if this makes any difference. Let's see. Out file, raw llama. This is your trained llama. All of this is good. I think so. Let's see. Yeah, we still have one tiny problem that we have to solve for this. I think I also made a mistake. This is not supposed to be the fine-tuned, it's the merged. Merged. There you go. There you go. Fantastic. Now it's going to produce an actual Giga file. Watch this. If I do ls, do you see the, where's my Giga file? It should be here somewhere. There it is, trained llama GGUF. Now let's just talk to it, right? Let's talk to this GGUF file and see. I'm gonna go and say build bin llama CLI and then model, and my model is called trained llama GGUF, and then prompt like this, and then who is Hassan Habib? Let's see if it can answer. Look at that. It's hallucinating, but it's getting close. Watch the answer. It says, who is Hassan Habib? Is an American-based tech evangelist. That's true. And a co-founder of the Standard. I'm not a co-founder of the Standard, but I wrote the Standard, right? Let's try a different prompt, right? I mean, I guess so. I guess so. Describe Hassan Habib. Let's see. There you go. Watch this. It's a fully. Let me take my face out. You don't need that part. There you go. It's basically say Hassan Habib is software engineering lead, the author of the Standard, and the founder of HassanHabib.com. 20 years of experience, tons of things. It finds what's existing versus what already is. If you want to verify that this is really doing what it's supposed to, like if I say, let's find one with a very short answer, like what makes Hassan Habib's work unique? Let's try that. I am aware that these questions that I'm asking the AI is making me sound so self-centered. I promise you I'm just trying to do this for learning purposes. So hang in there. Look, sometimes it'll hallucinate. It doesn't know what to say. Nope, wrong answer. Try again. There you go. Right? It talks about engineering principles, design. You can see how it kind of combines different concepts together. We have a fully trained model right here, everyone. And we can, it's gonna keep rambling forever because it's combining every piece of data that it could know about. But there you go. And by the way, the Linux machine barfed. Like you can see here that little dialogue that's in the middle of the screen. Yeah, training AI is crazy, but it's not impossible. And hopefully, like what I just did today and just going through a couple of issues will kind of help you see through like that it's possible. There's a bunch of steps. We went through all these steps. We generated the GGUF. We tested the model. We made sure that things work, and we produced it a GGUF file at the very end, right? Now, if I can just figure out a way to move that GGUF over from Linux to maybe I need to open up networking between the two machines and just share that so I can run that GGUF model. Now, for people, one last thing, for people who haven't actually watched the previous session, if you want to see what I did with that model, if you're really interested, let me show you something that's really cool. I basically created a voice-based. Let me find that voice. AI with voice. Yeah, POC. Here you go. What I basically did. Remember how I told you you can talk to these GGUF files from C Sharp, right? All I did is that I basically went and added speech recognition engine to it. And now I can ask it question. Watch this. What is the capital of France? Watch, watch. Come on, you can do it. There you go. So you can, like Jag, once you figured out that, it's going to keep listening to me, but once you figured out the GGUF model, you can take that little guy and build anything on top of it. You can build infinite number APIs, voice activated systems, all in C Sharp, all in C Sharp.net. You already have the path to it. This was a little bit of a longer session, and I apologize for the little hiccups here and there, but this is just to show you that this is real, right? You're going to run into problems, and you're going to need to solve these problems, and hopefully not a lot of problems. But the big reliance here is on the actual hardware, right? And you basically running the right script at the right time towards the right environment. I hope you find this useful. I'm not gonna edit anything. I don't edit my videos, but if you have any questions, comments, if you're trying this on at home, do try this at home, please. And you run into issues, please share your experience in the comment section, and I'll make sure to provide all the details that I just provided here today in a open GitHub repo, so you kind of do it yourself. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next challenge. The next challenge is a little bit crazier than this one, which is basically, okay, we can prompt AI, we can run AI offline, we can fine tune AI offline. I want to train AI. I want to that base model that we downloaded. How do we build that base model? It's going to take us a little bit of time and a lot of hardware and effort, but I think it's possible. I think we can do it together. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care.